We're good to come in? You need more time.
You're
busy.
good. No, come in.
All right.
We're just pushing legislation right now.
Okay. What's it about? What you cooking up?
We're banning BCSO from the city.
What's that?
What's that?
I said, why is that?
Why is that?
Yeah.
I don't know. They just kind of smell. You know what I mean? They're costing the city a lot of cash.
Really?
Yeah. Wait, she approved it already.
Wait, what?
I was just telling Beric about the BCSO ban, and Angel just approved it. What the?
I'm sure.
All right. Sorry. What's going on, Beric?
And what's going on?
Not too much.
How was the weekend?
Busy. That's probably the best word.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, the city's been in growth, and we managed to mostly balance the budget. We're losing about $5 million a day. And so now that's less so the case.
Is it a specific place that it's coming from where we're losing this much money? Like
a lot of different places. The TLDR is the past administration didn't know what the only reason things looked all right is because some of that money was coming out of a, let's just call it like an offshore account. So now that it's all coming out of a joint account, everything is getting, I think it was like $180,000 an hour. And that, mind you, that was after the PD pay cut. So.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to have your hands full. You're going to have a lot to do.
Yep. We, the CoP is going to be erected later this week. The legislation's off and going. Yeah, we're cranking. We're cranking right now.
It's good to hear.
All right.
Things are going to get flowing real quick.
They're going to what?
It sounds like things are going to get flowing real quick.
Yeah, it's got to. You know, there's rebuilding ahead of us. Give me just 1 sec. Let me just make sure I'm not behind on anything. All right, cool. We wanted to re-engage after our conversation on, what was it, Friday night?
Yeah.
And I said,
to be quite straight, I was probably like on 30, 35 hours, something like that.
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
sleep. So I could not really formulate my thoughts properly. And if I'm going to be entirely honest, I was very much telling you what I was trying to tell you what you wanted to hear. And honestly, I probably have for a very long time, because that's kind of the, regardless of what you say, I was kind of.
Wait, you were telling me what I wanted to hear? What do you mean?
When we were standing in here originally, and pretty much up until this point right now.
What's originally? Was that during the meeting?
Yeah, during the meeting, any kind of conversations we've had, I pretty much told you exactly what you want to hear, regardless if I.
Yeah, you were trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just to be quite straightforward,
Yeah.
I am somebody that self-reflects on myself a lot, quite a lot, all the time.
Yeah.
And I can acknowledge greatly that due to nobody's fault but my own and the people above me, that I've somehow transformed into this like notorious people pleaser. But I am sick and tired.
Good.
I'm not gonna do it anymore.
Good.
Regardless.
No one wants.
Yeah, regardless.
You know why?
Of,
you know why?
This, that, and the other.
Because here's the thing, Beric, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you please everybody, you end up like a guy like Slacks. You get walked over.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be honest with you, the reason I was triggered isn't because of your fucking opinion Friday night, regardless of whether or not you're tripping or whatever. It's because from the outside perspective, people want to know what the other person is thinking. If they don't know what they're thinking, and then all of a sudden they do what they actually desired outside of the conversation, all of a sudden they come across as a snake, non-dependable, etc., right?
Yeah.
Especially in the positions that we are in, is that if honesty cannot be put on the table and compromise cannot be found, there is a lack of uniformity and lack of cohesion. Things fall apart, especially with the responsibilities that have been bestowed on us. So, you know,
okay.
So I got to then ask, how long have you been glazing? Like, do I know Beric?
To a degree, but
Okay.
also,
was it from our first conversation? Like, are we talking way back, like even before I ran for mayor? Like, at what point did that begin?
Probably. Because you got to understand something.
Okay.
I've been kind of boxed into this position where of believing that if I do not agree with said person, then I will lose my job. But
Okay.
to this point, I have no reason to, you know, in the least like nonchalant way possible, whatever happens, I'm okay with. I know that I did what I could, and if I remain in the position, we'll do everything I can without worrying about all the bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's taken too much of a toll on me, and I just need to be myself.
Good.
Regardless of the outcome.
All right. Do you want to be chief?
I do, but that is with an asterisk.
Okay. All right.
And that kind of falls onto your shoulders in regards to the conversations we had on Friday.
Okay. Well, even before we touch on Friday, now I need to know what the fuck you were thinking like 6 weeks ago. Because now, if you're telling me that you've been telling me from the very beginning,
just to be straightforward,
let me get my thought out before you try to, assume what I'm thinking. You told me that you've been telling me what I wanted to hear from the very beginning. Now, I don't know when that was, so I don't even know at this stage who you are, right? So how about let's start with, who are you? And what were your original thoughts? Hey, how you doing, Matt?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Hey, Matt. Matt, hey! Did you let him know it's going to be Matthew Antov? He's got to set up a meeting with Tilly. We can't have people just running in here, All right. Sorry. What was I going to say?
In terms of my core values and who I am, and what the direction I want to push the PD, that is all true.
Okay.
That we agree on. In terms of some of the things that you suggested,
what are your core
values? That you think best, I definitely did not agree at times.
Beric, I literally now have no idea what your core values are, because maybe the core values you originally told me were not your core values, but something else. So let's do an interview here. All right, we're meeting for the first time.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on CIB?
It's dumb as fuck. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
It's honestly probably pretty poorly run, and I don't think that's to the fault of the people essentially underneath, but it is
whose fault is it?
I mean, it was just not poorly constructed, and it is not functioning in the way that it was
by who
to. Slacks.
Okay. And
who
what did he fuck up?
Blame? Nobody else is in charge of it. Nobody else is in direct control.
Wait, CIB was created without your input?
No, we approved it, and we looked over all the SOPs and stuff like that.
Who's we?
High Command.
Which is the current High Command?
Yeah.
Okay, so Bones and Cassidy also signed off on it?
Bones, Cassidy, Ruby, myself, Max. Yeah, the 5 of us.
Okay. And what did Slacks do wrong?
I mean, realistically, they spread themselves too thin. They were not able to focus on the little things, and instead tried to focus on, instead of putting all their eggs in one basket, they put them in 5 or 6 different baskets at the same time. So no one basket could ever get the real attention that it needed.
Okay. did High Command have any power over CIB?
Yeah, we had power.
Okay. How long did CIB run for?
I mean, maybe a month and a half at most.
All right.
To be honest.
What did High Command do to, like, correct CIB's delinquency?
To this point, not too much.
Okay.
I mean, I've kind of tried to step in and give them some kind of guiding hand, like, hey, if you need guidance on anything, and if you have any questions about anything, or questions about what direction you should be heading with certain things, while Slacks is in the ICU, I will happily, steer you guys if need be. Nobody has reached out, but this was also created with the intent that they would be able to function on themselves with the power entrusted to them and not really need too much guidance to begin with.
Yeah. Do you believe y'all should have, like, had a pot in correcting it when they went astray?
Yeah, sure, probably.
That doesn't sound, well, let's say, what would you do now if it was still active? Assuming it is. It's still active, is it not?
Probably had them make some.
Are they active?
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing to fix them?
Trying to be there and be their guiding hand so that they make emotionally intelligent decisions and don't get people killed should that come to it.
So has that been happening?
It literally happened, yeah.
Okay. Like today, you mean?
Today, no, nobody has died. Or I have not given them a guiding hand today.
Okay.
Because they have not asked for it.
So CIB is still operational?
They're still I believe they're still investigating some things. But they're not like fully operational.
I was told that was put on hold.
Before. To be honest, I quite honestly do not have full knowledge. As far as I'm aware, they are still investigating stuff.
Okay.
And that was Friday.
I'm going to ensure that I recall my other conversations over the weekend. But my understanding, I was led to believe that it has been on hold. If it is indeed on hold,
that's the opposite of my understanding.
And that's fine. And now, but that leads me to where, with all due respect, I don't want to go into the nitty gritties of what happened on Friday. But part of my massive annoyance was that you were not spoken to about a rather critical effort by another department prior to there even being a split. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, so
in other words, my
frustration came
in. And that was the heart of it, is that I am witnessing a problem, right? LSPD is my problem. Indirectly, BCSO and Blaine County is a problem.
How is it a problem? And how is the LSPD
This is the colloquial definition of problem. Where
but you're saying
yes,
it's a general problem.
I'm answering it.
Okay.
Which is there, as in, let me use a different word for you, responsibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens in the North making its way into the South is inherently my problem, my responsibility. There's consequences. There's things that happen. Just as much as the Los Santos Police Department is my problem, my responsibility. What you do, how you operate is my problem. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Sure, yeah.
And so inheriting what appears like a communicationally defunct high command that doesn't speak to each other and it has gaping holes, right, in communication is extremely disturbing. And so it leads me to, why is this such a problem with high command? Do you not have channels? Are there no discussions happening? Hey, we're going to do this. Boom. Because you get what I'm saying, right? This is an entire detective unit that may or may not be suspended.
I told them that this would happen. Fuck off, Bobby.
can't hear you outside. Sorry, go ahead.
Listen, at my core, regardless of, you know, whether I play the politician or this, that, and
don't
the
play
other.
don't play the politician.
I'm not saying that I am.
Okay.
Even though I have for a long time now, for like 4 months or so, 5 months. At my core, I'm an extremely logical person. And I wouldn't be in this position in the first place if I wasn't, and if I didn't know what I was talking about. And that's just straight up. There's no other way that you can look at it.
Yeah.
People can say what they want. They can have their opinions, but their opinions are not facts, and they never will be. And they're skewed fucking variations of how everything goes, and their personal biases on how everything goes is not factual.
Yeah.
It's not.
Okay.
It never will be. It is straight up just their opinion. Now, when it came to this, there's a reason that BCSO's high command in terms of communication flows so much easier than LSPD's. And it is the exact thing that I pointed out before even the assistant chief was chosen to them. Before even the assistant chief was chosen, this was the exact same thing that I pointed out. And I said, if you do not give me full reign to choose the entire command structure and you choose it yourself, it is not going to go the way you think.
You said this to Max?
Yeah.
And he chose Ruby?
That's right.
Does she not communicate with you?
She does, but only when necessary.
Okay,
and
so
this
she's
is where
leaving
part of my
things
frustration comes out.
Okay.
Like, and I'm just gonna, you know, again, no reason to really kind of hold back on anything.
Yeah.
I will happily take fault for some things. Okay. I will happily take fault for the time that I was away. But with that
brother,
being
we ain't
said,
talking about your fucking legacy. I could give a
everything
shit
I put
about
in
it.
place before that time, everything that I put in place, all the power that I gave people, it was so that they could properly function and do things without me. So that they could make all the decisions themselves without needing daddy's fucking approval or this person's say, this, that, and the other. They could do everything themselves. They did not need my approval for everything. And should they need that, they could have asked me. But did they? Did anyone?
Okay.
They didn't. They never tried. They never attempted.
All right. Okay. Did you have any power to, remove Ruby, correct Ruby?
No.
Okay. So you were told strictly by Max that she's there, you live with it.
Yeah.
And
now,
over
don't
the
get
last,
me wrong.
over the
and
last,
I'm not going to just straight up throw her under the bus either. She has done a fantastic job.
Okay.
She has done probably more than I have, realistically.
I know.
So I'm in no way trying to paint it as she has just been like, the absolute worst ever.
Okay. Did you tell her I hate her?
I did tell her that based on the opinions that I have received from others who have talked to you, that I did believe that she did not like you.
Do you have communication issues?
Sorry. Do I have communication issues?
Yes.
I don't believe so.
Okay. What if I told you you do?
Okay. I would be more than happy to receive whatever feedback you have.
Okay. I'm going to be frank.
Sure.
You are the chief of police, and your dumbass went to your assistant chief and said, I hate her. Now, before you open your mouth, consider the consequences of saying something based on presumption, all right, that has very nasty inferences. That the moment you said, I think he hates you, how that's going to make her feel without vetting the information. Because you just got telling me people got opinions and this and that and da, 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 da. But did you think about what that meant when you told her that?
I did.
Okay, and so why'd you do it?
I don't know you exactly.
Yeah.
And nor did I at the time.
Okay.
And probably still don't.
Yeah.
And one way or another, regardless of what was going to happen, she is somebody that I have to have faith in and trust and want the best for. So I will give her the information that is necessary.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Okay, so you did it with Beric. Here's the thing, right?
Sure.
I never hated Ruby. I had issues with certain circumstances with her. Luckily, she had the ball sack to tell me that, right? And we spoke through it. In fact, in that moment, I realized that she's probably been leading the LSPD for 90% of the time. Now, I don't know what the circumstances led to it, all right? But the fact of the matter was, she was doing the administration work. She was the one doing the PNT. She was the one putting thought into the future of the department. And while I may not agree with everything she did, I don't need to, because at the end of the day, that was her job, and she was going to execute it in the way that she thought she needed to in order for the LSPD to succeed. All right? And I'm glad that conversation happened. But the thing is, not everyone is going to say, hey, by the way, some person said this nasty shit. Poor Ruby probably thought I actually did hate her. And that's on you, right? There's other ways to communicate shit, right?
Okay, so what would you have preferred then?
Was something not brain
because
dead?
I'll tell you, I've
like,
gone
hey,
this
I
route.
think he may have some issues with you that you might want to discuss with them. Not, hey, I think he fucking hates you. Do you not see the difference in those two lines of communication?
Sure.
Well, explain to me then. What's the difference?
I can perfectly understand that. One is much more malicious than the other.
Yes.
The latter is much more
constructive.
How do I put this? Yeah, delicate.
It's not delicate, it's constructive. One's not, let's not use the word delicate. Delicate implies you're trying to like soften it up, being a pussy. One is, hey, I'm not really sure. There may be some concerns here. You should go and speak to them. The other one is, he fucking hates you. You might be a problem. There's going to be some serious tension. You might want to worry about it. The other one's going to make another person fucking start spiraling and thinking things and dooming. That's not healthy. And if that's been the general line of communication on the way down, God forbid, how many people are probably getting anxiety because they're not, they don't tell anyone. They're just like, fucking motherfuckers hate me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a general thing. I generally do not let people know anything that's on my mind on a day-to-day basis.
Listen.
But it was a very uncertain time.
Yeah.
Could it have been done a lot better? Absolutely, without question.
So were you trying to fuck her over? Like, I don't understand. What was the intent? Like, what was your intent of, like, what were you trying to do in that? Were you trying to help Ruby, or were you trying to stir some shit?
Listen, she's had a lot of people out for her within the police department and outside.
Yeah.
All that I was trying to do was brief her for the potential that, hey, this person may not have the best interest in you. So you're probably going to have to work, from behind a little bit.
Wait, what?
But okay. Maybe she would have to work from the negative instead of starting at like a neutral base. Is there like, I don't understand is there like a...
I don't know what your phraseology means, so could you reword what you just said?
Okay, so generally when people meet each other, they're on like neutral ground, okay? In terms of what you think of them.
Right.
I don't think it is a stretch to say that when you met Ruby for the first time, your thought process of her was probably leaning more in the negative direction
Nino for president,
because of your experiences with her
but that's
prior.
just me.
Is that like a stretch or what is?
Yeah, you're getting to know somebody, so you didn't really know me too well. Okay, yep, understood.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that was pretty much literally all of them.
What? I think you forgot what the question was. What was your intent with telling Ruby what you did in the way you did?
The intent was literally looking out for the person that I'm supposed to work with and be close to for the betterment of the department.
So you're trying to help us so she'd open up to me.
I feel like you're like digging for something malicious.
I'm not. I'm trying to ask you a straightforward question, and you're
I'm
like,
giving you the straightforward answer.
So
it literally was just looking out for this person because I believe that they would have to work from behind.
No one's digging here. We're trying to. The only thing I'm doing here is digging for a straightforward answer, right? So you're looking out for it. There you go. You did it.
I said it like 3 times. Yeah.
No, you did it. You fucking yabba dabba do behind the back, like whatever the fuck.
All right.
Like,
all right.
Yeah. All right. Do you now understand that was a failure in communication?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it could have been done a lot better.
All right. All right.
It was not productive.
Correct. Now let's go.
Where I will lateral to our meeting on Friday. And I'm going to be brutally honest about this.
Well, okay. Well, let's wait. Okay. Now, do you understand why I had issue on Friday?
Yeah, because it wasn't straightforward communication.
Correct.
I was trying to formulate my thought properly and present it to you, but I also had hesitation because I didn't want to upset you in fear of losing my job, a fear that I no longer have.
You know, here's the thing, right? This whole fear of losing job is a cancer within the police departments.
Yeah, it's cancer. It's archaic. And it's frankly just fucking
other business, no other organization, nothing else that is in Los Santos has as bad of a problem as the PD does. Because if you do whatever you can to go up the ranks, you're going to be willing to do everything. Everything that is inherently self-centered and self-preserving. And what does that mean at the end of the day? It means it is not in the best interest of the public and the city at large.
It's a very easy thing to say in the most respectful way possible.
It is not. It is easy to say. But I've also been here 3 times longer than you've been.
Sure.
I've run more organizations. I've had more responsibility. And so I'm coming from a place of fucking experience. And I never said it was easy. I never said it was easy. It's supposed to be hard. It is not easy to sit at the top and make decisions that are going to piss people off. But you have to ask yourself, when you're sitting in that seat, are you willing to push the buttons for the greater fucking good? Are you willing to weigh in everyone's thoughts because you want everyone to fucking love you?
All that I ever cared about, and all that I ever still do care about.
Chalupa, think of the 5 months. Novolak, think of the 10 months.
Everybody. Not for me. Not for the ones I'm closest to, because God forbid I have not fucking done that by any means. If anything, I've done them a disservice and myself. All I've done, and the entire culture that I wanted to push onto the PD in the first place, was just to care about everybody else. It was just to protect that little guy or that person that gets like abused and robbed every single fucking day, like 6 times a day, and try and be there for those people. The rest of the shit doesn't matter. But I also knew that in order to put through this change, that I would have to remain where I am. At the time, anyway. That's my biggest regret. Max could have gotten thrown out probably a long time ago.
Why didn't High Command do anything about Max?
I feel like we were all under different kind of ideas as to what could actually be done. The general briefing that I always had was that it would have to come down to some kind of vote within the council, and I would constantly be monitoring kind of where people's allegiances would lie within the council to see if it was even possible for impeachment, because I thought it would have to come down to a vote. And it's something that I am very sorry about, because I learned afterwards it was not that way.
What are your thoughts when you became his personal military? How did that make you feel?
Quite frankly, I was demoralized, and by that point, I was
Give me a second.
basically a cosmetic position.
Bobby, you're gonna fuck off right now, because I'm having an important meeting, and if I shut the fuck up, you're gonna walk off this fucking floor. Bobby, I swear to God, I'm getting sick and tired. There is a amount that I'm willing to tolerate you because I like you, because I think you're funny. But if you cannot shut the fuck up and read the fucking room, we're gonna have some goddamn problems. Right now, you are disrespecting the individual that is inside and the conversation we're having. This city, all right, is not Bobby fucking Ville. Now get the fuck downstairs, and next time, give me a text before you approach this fucking door.
It was almost goddamn
Get
Bobby
fucking
Ville,
moving
bitch.
now.
It was almost a goddamn
Get
Bobby
fucking
Ville,
moving.
bitch. You know what? Fuck you. Eat my dick and fuck you, Nino.
All right. Sorry about that.
God. Oh, we would have been so fucked if he was up north. Holy shit.
Yeah. He's a good dog. You know, you just gotta, sometimes you gotta like yell at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Holy
Sorry.
fuck.
I love Bobby so much. Sorry, you were saying?
Where were we?
Trying
to remember which part.
When you were operating as Max's paramilitary.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Comedic relief is good, yeah.
That was,
but sometimes you got to tell him, like, no, bad Bobby, bad Bobby.
Like, I mean, no matter how many fires we tried to put out, he would just create more. And here's the two-way problem, okay?
Yeah.
From the outside looking in, and for a lot of us at the CoP.
Oh God, I can't. I gotta get back into match, bro. I got fucking dead.
For everybody on the ground
Beric
level,
is like speaking his heart, and you got Bobby
some juice, if you will, something massive to like galvanize and rally behind. That was the best thing that has happened in 7 months. But just because it was something that happened, it was regardless if we were doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And don't get me wrong, a lot of it was probably very wrong.
Rasa, thank you for the 1 year.
In a lot of ways, that was pretty much the biggest thing for morale in a long time.
Yeah.
He was the bad guy. Regardless if he intended to be or not, he was. So, I don't know. Yeah, it was dog shit.
Okay. So you felt helpless.
I mean, yeah. Honestly, I don't know. I don't want to say I felt helpless from the beginning, but a lot of my drive to instill change.
Well, helpless in that you didn't feel like you could actually do anything against Max.
No, I did not believe that I could. No.
All right. Do you think PD's in a better place today than it was before his reign?
in a better place today than before he instilled himself as the commissioner?
Yeah.
Morale wise, no, but just overall, yes.
So you said morale went down with Max?
No, morale was the highest it's ever been when he was doing all his bullshit.
Okay. So interesting.
Everybody, you got to think objectively. Like, everybody's getting paid this ridiculous amount. Everybody's getting to do all these.
Well, no, that was his
things.
second term. What do you mean?
Yeah, and this was in the second term.
Okay, so at the end, but I mean overall, it ended with high morale because of pay. But what about over the course of the 6 months?
No, I mean, it was okay. In the first half of that, it was 2/3 of the PD were okay with him, and some probably enjoyed him and preferred him, and then 1/3 of the PD just hated him with a burning passion. And it was like this almost like subtweeting feud, if you will, because they never would see each other. And just for further context, this is like the entirety of Shift 1 and him. They would never see each other, but yet hated each other.
Did I catch up on all the questions?
Constantly.
This guy is such a grinder, chat.
But also, like, he really didn't step in and do like physical.
This guy's losing his mind over Tope.
Like, the terrorism stuff happened.
The Ollie. Yeah. Okay. Was overall, if things were to go back to Max's first term, do you think the PD was in a better place with the 3 captains or under his reign? And why? And
I
why?
think
Or
people
why not?
in the PD are happier now.
I don't.
Than they were before.
I don't really, Beric. I come from a very different frame of reference. All right, okay. I'm not your daddy. I'm not your mommy. I don't give a fuck about how the cops feel. I'm just gonna say that straight up. My job, all right, is not the feelings police. I am not the mayor of feelings. I am I have a duty to the city. So fucking Saddam Hussein's generals, I'm sure, felt really good, you know, being able to fuck prostitutes all fucking day and do whatever the fuck they want. They want a fucking palace, they get a palace, right? And, you know, but motherfuckers were dying left and right. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll be straightforward.
So I'm not, when I'm asking these questions, I don't give a shit about feelings, right? Like, oh my God, they felt good. Okay, congratulations. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking to the chief of police about the police department, and the inherent question should be, are you operating? Are you able to, are you doing your job? That is the question, not like, you know, do they feel good? Like what? You know, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay. I understand how it can be interpreted that way. That's not exactly like how
I'm
was
saying it this shoply because this
tends
to be the way that a lot of people answer the question, and it's just crazy to me, you know? And I know that to some degree, maybe that is kind of how y'all have been wired to answer things. Like, are people like enjoying? Are they enjoyers? Like, you know what I mean? But that's like kind of not. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, continue.
Yes, the pure functionality of the police department, I do believe it is in a better state than it was prior to Max's involvement in the police department.
It was in a better state prior?
No, it's in a better state now than it was prior.
Explain.
Prior, it was very, I don't want to say it was like a toxic work environment, but it was, a lot of people did not feel comfortable to do their job to begin with because they felt that they would be almost like crucified or, you know, extradited for the mistakes that they make, which accountability is huge. Just not even just in cops, but in people. It is incredibly important. But also, things were a lot easier back at that time. Things were a lot easier. There were no cash exchanges. There were no robberies of any kind. It was strictly like you respond to senior buttons like 10 fucking times a shift. You do like 10 traffic stops. There was nothing beyond that, really. But now it's a completely different breed. Like 7 months from now.
Okay. So, all right. Can you go into a little bit more detail? Was the city in a safer place before? Is it in a safer place today? Like, are cops more trained back then versus more trained now? Like, you know.
I don't think they were more trained back then than they are now. Is a lot of the SOPs and stuff like that and the training
the
process.
The problem is Beric is not a leader. He cannot.
Then, to be fair,
and I know more, like he might be a nice guy, like cozy or whatever, but
and more
like
explicit training.
He can't even describe the fucking not, PD, man.
You know,
like
exactly blossomed in the way that a lot of people would like it to. It at least has been fruitful in the ways that we wanted it to be. So it has. So I do believe, yeah, that things are in a better spot.
Okay. All right. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Well, here's the deal. I'm going to be having a chat with Andy later today. I want to make it very fucking clear to her that I don't know what the fuck it is that you told her or whatever. I'm being transparent with you. But I want to make it very clear that if they want to get a highway patrol unit, they can absolutely do that. However, I'm going to reaffirm that and I'm going to make this real clear to you too, because I think there might be some confusion because I don't know what you heard, what you didn't, between all the glazing that you claim that you were doing prior to that. I do not respect that the first meeting about the police department, an hour after I sit in this room, is can we have fast cars? Now, I don't give a fuck as to like the grandest scheme of what it is and da-da-da, hear the bells and whistles, here's some fucking lipstick on a pig, is that we are facing insurmountable debt. Everything, this entire economy is fucked. We have so much legislation that needs to be written up. We have an entire police departments that we need to look over. I have a bigger problem on my hands than she will. She has inherited a brand new PD that's been working to build up for some time. I have one that was operating under the rule and thumb of Max, and then was chewed up by cherry picking hires that went to Blaine County. There's a lot of work that the LSPD needs to do. The first conversation being about equipment is crazy. All right? And simply asking for something to be written on paper so I can hear it is important. Now, there was a miscommunication gap because that conversation did not start with, here's what we want to do. We want to include you. I found that out after I spoke to Andy. The conversation did not start with that. It came from the angle of, here's what we want to do with the both police departments. And that I had umbrage with because that's not even something I want to entertain for a week or two till we get the actual fires out of the way first. I've got 150 business proposals that need to be reviewed, right? There's a lot of fucking shit on the table, and the top priority cannot be that for me. Are we clear?
Yeah.
All right.
And I understood that, but I was trying to convey this on Friday, and I know it probably did not go over the way that I intended it to, but I also could understand that their perspective of, again, with logical thinking, my initial way.
You don't have to worry about that because I've already spoken to Andy about it, and I'm going to re-engage with her today. Now, what their feelings are and this and that, don't give a shit.
Okay. That's okay.
That's something that me and Andy can sort out. And, you know, our respective, we can push it down the chain. You know what chain of command is, right?
Obviously.
Good. Well, no, you don't. You didn't. Now you do. Is it confusion?
No confusion. I'm just gonna be straightforward and honest with you. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, go ahead. It's ridiculous what? That this fucking cunt of a fucking chief of police decides to fucking suck my dick for a goddamn, shut the fuck up, one goddamn month, and then one goddamn month.
And then you couldn't communicate with them when they were just
couldn't communicate.
They didn't have to bring it to us.
Motherfucker, you've been sucking my dick for 30 goddamn days to maintain your fucking job that you couldn't do. You had Ruby do it for God knows how long, and then you sit here saying, oh, yeah, I understand what it is. You know what? I went and told Ruby that I hate you. You then decided after I got done talking to Andy, all right, I solved it, and your dumbass went over there and decided to start stirring. You didn't solve shit
because you're not gonna reason with them. You're not. You told me on Friday you don't care what they do.
Yes, it is their jurisdiction.
Yeah, I know. The wall. That's the fucking point.
Beric,
that's what I was trying to tell you.
You stupid fucking shit.
How do you not
see the wall
this?
shit?
How do you not
see it was clearly jokes. No one's gonna put up a fucking wall. Are you fucking serious?
How can you not? I just don't.
Do you think that we would have put a fucking wall up? Do you really think we would have put a fucking wall up?
No, I'm not a fucking idiot.
So why are you using that as an example?
Make jokes like around it, like I'm not.
Yeah, what?
Oh man.
Listen, here's the thing, Beric. All right.
Sure.
Just as when you went to Ruby and said that Nino hates you, all right, and you failed to comprehend how that is fucking idiotic. Is the very same problem.
I don't even know if those were the words again.
Now you don't remember if those were the words, even though you said that's what you said. All right, fantastic. All right, so that it's the very same problem with you trying to resolve a situation that should have been resolved between myself and Andy. But instead, you decided to be like, oh, you know, let me go have a chat with Andy and see if I can fix it on my own accord. Do you think maybe that might be the problem? That this is inherently the issue? You let the leaders discuss with each other, figure it out. If we have issues or concerns with each other, we're both fucking adults. We can figure it out, all right? It's not the fucking end of the world. But you going in and going sideways and coming back and flipping the script. Let's not forget, you sat in this room and Abby was there, all right? Is that the moment they left and I asked you, what did you think about that? You sat here and you told me that these guys never come to you, that this is business as usual. In fact, I tried to fucking defend them a bit and poke at it and say,
don't know the
hold on.
Context behind
okay,
that.
Listen. You sat here and said that they never communicate with you, that this is typical of BCSO, that they normally do things and then you find out after the fact that you knew nothing about this unit that they wanted to put together. And I sat here and defended your ass, all right? And I said, I got your back. If it gets bad, and I'm going to underline this very fucking clearly, that if it gets so bad that they start doing all kinds of things that are hindering your ability to operate as the chief of police who is running my fucking police department and it is causing problems within the city, I will do whatever needs necessary. And I use an exaggerative example of what could be done. And you decided, hey, I'm going to be fucking hero and go talk to the mayor of Blaine County, and he came back and y'all flipped
anything like that. Because so from my perspective, and I'm gonna need you to hear this out, okay?
I'm listening.
You pushing them out of this room when we were trying to have an adult conversation.
I do not need to have that.
I need you to stop. I need you to stop just for a second, because when you're trying to talk, I will let you talk. And then when I talk,
go ahead.
you're trying to talk.
Go ahead, Beric. Yeah, go ahead. You know what? Go ahead.
Uh-huh. So
Beric is
this exact
Nino
thing
is so
that you're
done with
preaching
this.
about communication, you shut down that night.
Oh,
which is why I
my God.
entertained the avenue of trying to settle things outside. Because from my perspective, it was not going to be evened out. It was not going to be talked about anymore. Other until this like fucking paperwork had to be done or this, that,
Nino's going to lose it on him. Nino's going to.
And from that perspective, that's where I was like, I should have to have a conversation, and I will have to.
Yeah.
Given my position.
Okay. You done?
Sure.
From your perspective, when you had no idea that I called Andy right afterwards to resolve it. I called her because I wanted it resolved. And I knew that we needed to discuss with each other. And we did. And we realized there was a misunderstanding over what that meeting was about. And I made it clear that regardless of what it is, I want to see things on paper so there is no confusion. Just as we had confusion in that room, and even now, what the intent of the unit is, what is being asked, and whether we want to participate. All right? She has her way of doing things. I have mine. And at the end of the day, her and I are going to need to find a way to operate together. That is my problem and her problem. And it doesn't fucking matter what your opinion is on the matter, because it's not your place. You may have feelings that you want things to be a certain way, but it is, quite frankly, no different than someone coming through and saying, you know what? I want certain things a certain way in the LSPD. Fuck Beric. I'm going to go talk to Nino directly.
Okay.
Hence the question, do you understand chain of command? This is matters of the mayor's offices and their respective counties. And when their inherent subordinates decide to circumvent conversations to do what they want, that's when you have turmoil and a breakdown of communication. Now, you had the full latitude to tell me that, hey, I'm concerned that things were this way. I think you should talk to Andy about this because, you know, maybe, you know, things would have been da-da-da-da-da. And you know what? I probably would have heard that. I would have heard that out, Beric. Just as I heard you out shitting on them. And then coming back and, like, having your tail between your legs.
Okay, that's a bit of a stretch. Listen, again,
you know, to use your own phraseology, that was my perspective.
I understand. I understand how it can be viewed that way. But again, I am a logical person.
You're not. How?
I am okay. And I am very willing to accept and look at a situation and say, I was wrong. I could have done better here.
Look,
and that is exactly what that was. That was me telling you I was wrong. Not in everything that I said, but in the parts about them, I was wrong.
Okay, good. All right. Look, at the end of the day, Beric, I don't really give too much about what just happened here. I'm okay with. This is the Beric I want to see. As long as you don't walk out, as long as you don't walk out here and like your fucking pussy's hurt. You know what I mean?
No, I don't. I no.
Well, I'm telling you directly. I'm telling you directly. All right.
I know.
Because without this right here, a adult argument where we can walk away and you're not like fucking, you know, emotionally hurt about it. You could be upset about the decisions, right? But not the circumstances.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Like I said, I'm not too worried about this. You know, what's in the past is the past. But like I said, I take a lot of umbrage if like people are intervening between me and Andy getting to know each other and finding a way to operate, because I've been there, right? And while I don't think there was any malicious intent behind what you did, it does cause headache, right? Because now I'm not just talking to Andy, I'm talking to a bunch of other motherfuckers, and I don't get that input, right? It becomes destructive to the conversations that we're going to be having, right?
Okay.
Do you not understand that concept?
I do.
Or is it confusing? It's okay. Let me paint a similar
example. I fully
example.
understand the concept.
All right.
And I fully understand your side of things now.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I did not view it like that previously.
I rather look, if these kind of things happen, fucking bring it to my attention and be like, yo, let's fucking talk to Andy. Let's get everyone in a room and let's get this resorted, right? Side conversations and shit like that is literally a recipe for drama, miscommunication, etc. Because now you got a bunch of everyone's on multiple different pages, you know? That's how I like to operate. In fact, if let's say you and Ruby have issues, the way that I would do it is I literally bring you both in the room together with me, because I know I may need to make a decision, whatever. You get every shareholder, every stakeholder, every person that needs to be involved in the conversation. You bring them together and you hash it out, and you walk away with a decision. But all right. Is there anything else? Do you have the proposal for me, by the way?
Yeah.
All right.
It's not as straightforward as you probably would like, but to me, this is a recounting of where we've come from and where we should go.
All right.
And there is pretty much, to me, a lot of what has happened. Maybe not as directly, because I have a different way of speaking and a different way of thinking.
Requested access.
Oh, sorry.
By the way, guys, I want to remind you, this is RP. I don't really give a shit if chat's fire him or hire him or whatever. At the end of the day, I don't really give a shit. I want to play little tugs, to be honest. But Nino's gonna Nino, you know what I mean? He's setting things straight up and early. Speak with your fucking chest, but none of this rat shit.
What I see needing change.
All right.
And the avenues to change.
All right. I'm kidding. No, I'm enjoying playing Nino. I don't want people to get confused that
And I know everything.
He's a good dude.
In this conversation has been a little heated, and I'm not gonna think any differently. I don't hold weight into that kind of shit.
Okay.
I prefer to have these kind of conversations. Much more productive. At least to me anyway.
Okay. All right, go ahead. You want to present this? You want me to read it? How do you want to do this? Could you send Abby a copy as well, please?
You can do that any way you want to. If local share, phone number, email. If you need my email, I can text.
Yeah, remember, chat isn't voting for who will or will not be chief.
Text me.
I prefer these kind of meetings. I find them good drama, good excitement. You know what I mean? If everything was just people please RP and everyone was just oh my god. Oh my god, that's not content, bro.
Yeah.
That's not RP. This gets your juices flowing.
Okay.
Nino, I voted for you in chat. Screaming is very cathartic. Well, it makes it feel more real, right? IRP, I'm Nino, I'm actual mayor, right? And inherently, from Nino's perspective, shit's hyper fucked, and from Nino's perspective, did
you text me or no?
Beric is not understanding.
I did to the 420-615. I said Abilene.
That him stirring with
615,
Andy
3257.
is not good for her. It's not good for me because Nino recognizes, even though he's staunch, that he has to work with Andy. And that when your fucking
no, I have
chief is going and like
4257.
having side
That
meetings and
explains a
shit,
lot. One
it's
second.
literally brain dead. And he needs to convey that very clearly. Because at the end of the day, this is a Andy Nino miscommunication. It's the same as like if you're running a police department and like your lieutenants and your captains were all like saying all kinds of random shit. Like you put an order in place, hey, we're doing this. And you explain to them, and then you got like there's dramaing around like random shit, like and speaking on your behalf.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right? That's a destructive communication. You get in real life, you'd get fired immediately for that.
You want me to kind of go through it or my thought process on everything or what's?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can present this. Remember, this is your opportunity here. I want you to, this is your proposal. However you want to propose it. Either we read it, you explain it, you get a high level. Like what? This is your show.
Okay, so I'm just gonna be straightforward. A lot of things I want to do are things that have been needing to get done for a long time, and things that I've seen as problems for a long time that need to be resulted, or there needs to be some kind of result for it. And first of which was the decision that I was going to make this week, which, you and I talked about, and I will not do it for the time being, or given to whatever, or I'll hold on to it until you decide whatever it is that you want to do. But that third high command position needs to be dealt with, and from there, we need to meet and put together an actual proper vision and proper way to establish a culture, because the culture of LSPD being the no fun and serious department, I'm sick and tired of, and it's been in place for probably 8, 9, 10 years, some shit like that. And that was pretty much one of my biggest goals to set out and crush. And we did have that for a while. We had gotten straight away from that, but it's I don't know. We're falling slowly back into that, which I really don't. I really hope, it does not head back in that direction, because it is something that is really hard to break and get away from. But again, also recounting that, this kind of dip in education, I guess you could say. We didn't expect it to be this bad, but we knew that it was going to happen to some extent, because the biggest thing that we focused on from the very beginning was we needed the right people. The right people. And it really doesn't equate to more than that. We needed the right people in the department. So that was what the focus was, regardless of their level of experience.
Go on, I'm listening. I'm just taking a look outside. Oh, come on, Indy.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Hi.
Could you send Eve a copy too? And since we're only like a minute in, get stuff on the top so she can listen in. There is no misinterpretation. I let people. Hey.
Morning.
Morning.
Anyway, to me, the most important first step in the process was getting the right people, because it was very clear that any kind of avenues to pursue other people with experience was not going to happen. It was not an avenue that could be pursued, and that's okay. So what is the logical place to go to after that? Getting the right people, which, regardless of what people want to say, regardless of what all the people out there want to say, in terms of just the actual quality of people that we have, it is very good. It is very, very good. However, that means that in turn, now comes the second step of that, where they need to get the right and quality training. While they did have good training, there are things that would slip through the cracks just because the job as it is repetitious as fuck, and so many people are going to fall into the trap of just going through the motions, and this is what you do when this person does that, without actually realizing why they're charging them with this when they do that, and not being able to actually represent what they think and what they say in any way, shape, or form. And this starts with, to me, something that I've already talked to people about, and I would hope that even if I'm not in my position anymore, that they still do anyway. The SOPs need to be rewritten from scratch, not from, the place that they were of like 9 months ago or 8 months ago or whatever. They need to be rewritten from scratch, from the ground up. I think the kind of training and mentor program that we have needs to probably be rewritten from the ground up, and it needs to be a lot more detailed and thoroughly worked on into the specifics of what we need people to know. And I think everybody needs to go through that training again. Everybody needs to go through mandatory, like legislative and, like court training. Everybody needs to go through mandatory medical training. Everybody needs to go through mandatory tactical training across the board, one way or another. It has to happen. We need to actually have good relations with all the other factions that we need to work with, whether that be medical services, the Department of Justice, you fucking name it. We need to have better relations with them and establish better and clear communication across the board. It has to happen. I don't know why it hasn't to this point. I will take fault for that as well, but it has to happen. It's long overdue, because that will just breed more positivity and less toxicity. The general plan is to, as soon as we have that like kind of idea in mind between the 3 high command members, and we all agree on something that can be pushed forward properly, then I want the 3 of us to meet with each and every single person in the entire department and assess what their needs and wants are.
Nah, thank you, the prime
and then
sub.
weigh that accordingly when we meet again, following all of those meetings, and then properly push everything out in conjunction with, if 19 of these people say the same thing, they want this, that, and the other, then that's what they're going to get. That's how we're going to make it easier. That's how we're going to make people actually want to be around. Establish some kind of culture, establish some kind of family camaraderie. Make it feel like people actually have each other's backs instead of just being at each other's throats all the time. Because that's what a lot of people feel like. The punishment system needs to go. It's archaic. It has too much of a stigma around it, and it just needs to be.
Scarlet, thank you for the 2
gone.
months.
It's ridiculous. It's terrible, and we need to create something new. Not sure as to the details around that, but it's not too difficult to assess that and create something new. It's very easy. Yeah. Again, I'm saying to create a new punishment system, not get rid of it in its entirety, or just not have one at all. And yeah, it's easy and simple. Let's see. Something that's always been very big to me, and I think I would hope that you'd be able to respect, at least to some degree, is at a certain point, we started going straight off of the letter of the law more than the spirit of the law, if that makes any sense or if that resonates at all. And that is something I've always had a great deal of disagreements with, I'll put it that way. Because I truthfully believe that we should operate more on the spirit of the law than the letter. and that was why I don't know. I don't know if that'll change too much with this new iteration of the Department of Justice, but I would much like to push in that direction instead of, you know, what was in place prior. While the certs and stuff like that have started to become established within the department by them being there and they're very bare bones. I mean, they are very much just bare bones beyond TRT. Everything else needs to get up and running and sorted. Need to get motor sorted. Need to get air sorted. And, you know, eventually any kind of pursuit unit, should we have it, that needs to get sorted as well. The hiring process will get a lot easier now that there's not as much resistance. I'll just put it that way. And we can pretty much pick and choose who we actually want to bring into the department. It'll be a much more streamlined process than it ever has been able to in the last like 7 months. Pretty sure I touched on this briefly already, but I think there needs to be some kind of update to just the general fundamentals for everybody, and everybody needs to go through just general courses just to, you know, update them or get them more used to everything again, or fill in the little gaps of information.
It's an important conversation, guys. Have. Of course, it's going to keep going.
A big part of the culture in that kind of like family and caring atmosphere to me is prioritizing people over pings, if you will. It was a big thing that I was about before the quota system, and the quota system kind of fucking murdered it and kind of had people prioritizing, chasing after like moonshine and fucking shit, and just, you know, moonshine and, you know, fucking, I don't know, these 37 Charlies or these financial situations. It's, I don't know, a whole bunch of really stupid shit. But yeah, people over pings and prioritizing any situation that actually involves people and individuals, because that's going to make the greatest deal of difference, but also not stretching ourselves too thin and prioritizing what we actually should, being those people.
Okay. Is that all?
I'm just kind of gathering my thoughts, see if there's anything else I want to touch on specifically. Also, just, I mean, there's a lot of little things. Well, I don't think they're little things in retrospect. I think they're very important, like community policing and stuff along those lines. Just being out there and being more friendly and communicative just out in the community. It's very important. I mean, there's a lot of other things that can be established as well. I'm not sure as to the exact details of it, but some kind of system where, you know, people that do get punished can't like leave them out to dry, but if somebody gets like fired for wrongdoings or something like that, we're gonna let the public know, like weekly press briefings or something like that, or just do general press briefings after some really kind of sensitive situation happens or something along those lines. Yeah, a lot of shit needs to get overhauled. A lot needs to actually be rewritten and redone, similar to how the, you know, what the DOJ just went through. I'm also more than happy to answer any questions as clear and concisely as I can.
Okay. Yep. I got a couple for you.
Sure.
All right. You referenced early in the conversation like the right people, the quality of people, etc. What is that? What does that mean?
These are people that in any situation will try and talk. They will try and talk and defuse and de-escalate. And while it might not always, pan out the way that we want it to, it at least gives us the best shot at avoiding this, all-out conflict that we experience on a day-to-day basis. And I do believe greatly that we have done so because, like, amount of shootings and stuff along those lines have decreased greatly.
Was that
and the
through?
amount of just
Sorry, keep going.
the amount of just violent crimes against cops specifically have decreased greatly over time.
Okay.
Now, there are bad eggs, as there will be in any batch, but they weed themselves out over time.
Okay. How was this transition? Did it primarily come from training or primarily come from firing the wrong and low quality people?
I believe that these people are just the way they are. Certain people, for example, I will not.
No. Let me re-ask the question.
Okay.
It went from you needed the right people and the quality of people to now you're in a better place now with those characteristics. Was that resolved through firing or was it through training primarily?
Like having the people be the way they are?
So at the beginning you said that that like early on you need to focus on getting the right people and the quality people, but now we're in a state where now you're in a good state where you've got quality and you've got people that know how to talk, how to diffuse, etc., etc. How did you go from where you were to where you are now? Like, what actions were taken to arrive at the better state today?
Being very, very thorough in terms of the application process and how we select people and how we interview people, because a large part of the interview process is that, they are asked a degree of
changed hiring
related questions, but a majority of that will be gauging their personality and gauging, how they talk to other people. Are they going to get are they just going to blow up? Are they going to shimmer down in tense situations? Are they just going to,
I got you. So the hiring process was changed.
Yeah.
For the better. Okay.
Yeah, that was something I did the first week or two. Was created a new application.
Gotcha. All right. You mentioned that the punishment system needs to go. Can you explain what it is today and where it needs to be in the future?
Right now, it is the disciplinary action. They're called DAPs, disciplinary action points, and I think the kind of stigma around them has kind of diluted what they're actually for, and I think we need to put together some kind of actual proper system that isn't going to just that people will actually respect and care about, and it won't have the same stigma that it did before of it just being of these DAPs just being thrown around and it'd just be some kind of ridiculous thing. I don't know, it's not very clear. Let me think. I think it really boils down to the stigma around it. It's had a bad stigma for a very long time, and I think it just needs to go. and it needs to be replaced with something new and something fresh. While we do have a clean slate, or as clean of a slate as we can in terms of the things changing and new things coming out.
Okay. Okay. So so the DApps are going to remain the same, but it's going to have a new title, like a new name to it.
Yeah, it'll probably have some kind of different, like a scoring system, if you will, air quotations. But I mean, people will still be disciplined for the same things.
Okay. So same system, new name.
Basically.
Okay. You mentioned a bunch of training. Okay, that's good. You mentioned, how do you expect police officers to operate based on the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law, which is fundamentally why all legislation was thrown out and rewritten?
That's a very difficult question to answer because it's not. It's an incredibly hard thing to teach people to, like, really listen.
Wait,
to everybody.
I don't think he knows why it changed.
Just go with what they think is right, more than, more than just going by more than just looking at a person and saying, how much can I fuck this person over?
Okay.
There's a lot of people like that. And
do
it
you
really
mean,
sucks.
Okay, when you say spirit of the law versus letter of the law, do you actually mean discretion is used?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is, do you know why the Constitution and all the laws were changed? Like one of the principal reasons? Yeah, it's because
too much of it was vague.
The letter of the law was not adhered to. There is a strong desire for the letter of the law to be adhered to. That is why the Constitution, while rewritten, is much more thorough. There's an entire piece of legislation just for search and seizure as opposed to what was previously 2 sentences. Because the letter of the law is inherently the way the courts are going to be deciding who is guilty and is not guilty. It is why legislation has been, a lot of legislation has been wiped and is now in the hands of both counties, the medical wing, and the DOJ to write new stuff to explain out very thoroughly and eloquently what is and what is not legal. So police would need to operate based on the letter of the law. They cannot inherently base it on the spirit of the law. However, they can certainly use their discretion, right? I'm going to paint an example here just to make sure I'm conveying what I think you're saying, and I want to know whether I'm understanding it correctly. That if someone was, a officer saw a vehicle and the vehicle came back stolen, they performed a traffic stop. In said traffic stop, they were able to identify that the vehicle did not come back to the driver. So they now have reason to believe this thing was stolen by that person. By the letter of the law, it's stolen, but they still have the discretion to say, you know what, maybe just leave it here. All right, I want you to get going for whatever that reason might be, because they may feel like there's not enough units on duty. They may feel like this individual is just doing some minimum crime. It's whatever, right? Is that what you're trying to say? That like an example of where you're going with the thought process?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I think a lot of things were probably explained to me in a much different light, months ago or years ago, whenever it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of what I was kind of explained to about the previous set of the DOJ was that it was all completely letter of the law, and every single case was determined by just straight up letter of the law. Now, I understand that might not have been the reality, or for certain aspects of it, it was not the reality. But that was just my understanding of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's still spirit of the law that's still used. I mean, that's inherently how, there can be conclusions on whether there's going to be case law written, if there's things need to be altered or whatever. But what is right and wrong isn't, you know what I mean? Anyways. Okay. So the next is, you mentioned that positivity and toxicity need to go down. It does exist in the police department, and that's something you want to sort of start aiming to curtail. Could you describe like what you mean exactly by positive? You want more positivity and decrease toxicity. Could you give like
Yeah, I
working
have no
examples of like
interest
how
in all
bad
these
that is?
people that I have no interest in all these people that just sit in the dumps all day mentally and just like if they have valid reason, they can 100% bring it to us and we will work on a solution. But the people that walk into work and are just like, man, this fucking sucks. This person fucking sucks at their job. The way these people do this thing is just fucking stupid. And I'm just gonna make fun of them all day about it and this, that, and the other. No, we're just gonna
Wow,
fucking
it's
fire
almost
them.
like
And
why
that's
I
been
was
made
annoyed
very
at you,
clear
Beric.
over the last like 2 to 3 weeks or so. Because I dealt with it. I let those people exist for far too long, hoping that they would change their mind or that they would come around, but they clearly will not, and it's time for them to go.
Okay. Okay, understood. What are your thoughts about the lieutenant, like a lieutenant in EMS going to one of your members of command and stating that all of PD has lost their first responder certs? How would you respond to a scenario like that?
I mean, I would think that is incredibly fucking irrational. I would be very curious as to know what the reasoning is, and I would not try and judge them before knowing the actual reasoning behind their choice.
Do you believe they have the authority to do that?
No. I mean, you can take somebody's first responder cert, sure, but I mean,
wait,
most
can
of the
they?
time I don't know. But even if they do, it doesn't fucking matter. It's not like they lose the knowledge. It's not like you lose your driver's license and you forget how to drive. Like they don't have the cert, but we're still going to be the first responders, if you will, when it comes to like violent crime or some shit. And we will likely be the ones treating them, especially with how often a lot of the times we don't have EMS these days.
I think the implication there is that you could get sued. If you, well, so my understanding is that they can't do that. But if they could do that and you lost it and you tried to perform medical, you guys are fucked. So that issue, I believe, has been resolved. But has that come up? Did that come up to you, by the way?
No, that is not. I've heard nothing of that.
All right. I left that conversation as that needs to be figured out because that is extremely concerning. If random lieutenants are like all of PD has lost their first responder cert, that is insane.
Heard nothing along those lines.
Nor do I even think there's like a way to know whether someone has or hasn't. But it does make me wonder if something like that is coming around the corner, what it means, et cetera, et cetera. It seems very, anyways. Okay. Good answer. What are your thoughts on Cletus Cornwood?
He's a good friend, but I believe that he is blind at times.
Okay.
And his faith through his friends of old.
I like Cornwood personally. I want Cornwood.
He's a good friend
in the
but
LSPD.
His kind of like blind allegiance to Max and Siobhan really was disturbing.
Okay.
For a long time, and I really didn't know how to pull him back from that.
He voted against a lot of their legislation, though.
Yeah, and that is great, but he also supported a lot of the things that they did, and putting them to where they are in the first place.
How would you feel if I wanted Cornwood in the Los Santos Police Department?
I mean, he fought for a long time to be BCSO, and I mean, I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Okay.
He's good.
So
like I said,
how would you handle
I get
someone
along
like
with him very well.
What I mean by that is he's in that like same like sort of, let's say, band as like Clarkson, as Denzel. In other words, they bring a lot of personality to the department, but they can sometimes do things that are, you know, maybe crossing the line. You know what I mean? Maybe outside the folds of like SOPs or whatever. So like, how would you handle those sort of cases? Because those are necessary things, right? You can't have a fucking dry department. That's going to be fucking boring.
I mean, it's very necessary evils, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's not exactly one way to deal with all of them.
So give me some examples. Like, how would you Cornwood mag dump somebody?
And he still has to be punished, but there is more than. I mean, it comes down to me, accountability. Like, even if they do some dumb shit, do you know you did some dumb shit? Like, and that's something that I love Denzel. He's a good friend, but actually, no, it's not Denzel specifically, but it's a lot of these folk, the problem children, if you will. The biggest thing is that they just do not have the accountability to recognize what they did wrong, say I'm sorry, and then walk away from it and just be better. Denzel's gotten a lot better at it. Some of them have gotten a lot better. I will give them that. But I mean, who are we if we cannot look at the things that we do wrong and try and improve from them? Because if we're just gonna look at the things that people do wrong and then just, cast them out, and then that's done, they're over with, get them out of here. And don't get me wrong, some people, depending on like the offense, they gotta go. Okay, we just fired somebody like 30 minutes before I walked in here. We fired somebody, but it's a necessary point.
Wait,
and
what?
I wish there was a more clear-cut answer, but there's no clear-cut solution to these people because they are all different, and they are honestly basket cases. They're fucking insane. They're not normal.
Okay, but so you talked about like having a DAP system, changing the name of it. So how would you employ that punishment system when some of the officers I just referenced, were out of line? Would that system apply to them?
I mean, absolutely, it would apply to everybody, myself included.
I got you. So if there was something that was out of line, then they would follow the same system and you would fire them.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it came to it.
Okay.
Now, my biggest thing is, unless somebody does something like inherently egregious that I witness, and I'm just like, this person has to be fucking gone. Like when Lenny shot Slacks, and then I had to shoot Lenny after he shot Kid. There's no coming back from that. Like he was just straight up fired, obviously.
Okay. So transparently, one of the policies I'm looking to set forth is this DAP system's shit. Officers should be punished within a 48-hour period. Even better, within that first 24 hours, it should be resolved, like that night. Either you give them strikes, you suspend them for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and any firing should be based on criminal charges that go through the court of law or is investigated by the marshals. So inherently what I'm saying here is punish quick, punish often, get rid of the fucking drama. Because if Denzel decides to go pit someone at 140 miles an hour, suspend the guy. Don't spend 2 weeks fucking investigating whether he did it or not, because officers are going to fucking lie to your face. It's going to create turmoil within the department. It puts a target on their back by the rest of the city saying, fuck Denzel, right? And that doesn't help anyone except give the commanding officers something to do when they should be focusing on other things like building up the department.
I agree with you.
Okay.
And the original 3 captains would agree with you. However, that is pretty much that method of doing things is pretty much what did them in the end.
They don't agree with me.
They were wrong.
They do not agree with me, actually. I was around and I was very tuned in with what was happening. They spent 2 fucking weeks trying to come to a decision. That is the opposite of what I'm saying.
Okay. So maybe it wasn't direct in the way that I'm putting it.
Yeah.
But
in terms
I'm gonna circle
the key point here is that it happens like the same day and at worst within 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing the key difference, Beric? I want to make sure I'm conveying
I
my
understand
thought
what
here.
you're saying, and I'm trying to articulate my thought properly instead of just like blanketly putting it like how I just did. But that drama, trying to avoid drama by going about things quickly is what ultimately in their situation, I believe, led to more drama.
Yeah.
People did not feel like their wrongdoings were properly investigated and properly, disclosed of. So then it led to a whole bunch of like quintessential like uprising in a way and created a lot of discourse.
Yeah. Here's the thing. There's a paradigm that I'm sure PD has been following for a very long time. There's a paradigm that the rest of fucking society, organized society, uses, which is punish quick, punish often. If you turn a simple suspension into the World Cup, of course, people are going to have high expectations, and there's going to be a lot of, feelings back behind it. You do it often, just as we do with criminals in our society, people get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're effectively putting that cop on a hut charge, the equivalent of one.
I don't disagree.
Like, I do not. I come with the principle of that officers should be punished in a similar way as criminals are for crossing the line. Criminals cross the line, they get put away for X number of hours, right? When it's more egregious, they might be in jail for a day, in 2 days, 3 days. Usually not more than that. You probably don't murk them unless they've, like, murdered someone. Do you understand what I'm trying to convey here?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So, like, I get some cops are very early on going to get in their fifis and be like, oh, my God, like, I swear I didn't do this. My expectation is you tell them to suck a fucking dick and you'll see it tomorrow. You know what I mean? And you do that enough times, you're going to get rid of the ones that get too much in their fifis, all right? And you get the ones that are like, all right, fuck, I did this. I'll go fucking run some Group 6 today. Or, I don't know, maybe walk around the city, do something else, get to know the public. Maybe to end up talking to somebody that might change their perspective of the people outside of the department. It's a long-term strategy. It's not overnight. I fully would expect that people are going to be up in arms for a while. But that's not really, like I said, fifis are like whatever.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. All right. We hit everything. Do you guys have any questions for Beric?
I just have a couple general questions. Not a big deal. Are citizens with non-violent misdemeanors prohibited from applying to the department?
No.
Oh. Assistant Chief told us yesterday that anyone with any misdemeanor will not be considered to apply for the department.
Well, if that is the case, that was not my decision.
Okay. And then my own curiosity, what shift are you mainly? You may have said this, but I didn't read it.
I was made to primarily reside in shift 2 at Max's request.
Is that the shift you're most comfortable with?
No.
What shift are you most comfortable with?
I worked for like
it's very confusing, man. I don't
shift 2
like.
Shift
it's
3
like he's not.
And the early parts of shift 1. So
Ruby literally runs the LSPD
times of day.
Cool. That's it for my questions.
I'm good for now.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Beric. Is there anything you want to discuss?
I don't think so. I think we've pretty much covered everything.
All right.
As far as I'm aware.
All right. We have a shitload of work to do. I think cumulatively, I've been in this office for maybe 40 hours since Friday. No joke. Shit is fucked. And if you have any questions about how fucked it is, you know, I can give you some insight, but primarily, nothing's been done with businesses. It's worse than we thought, where Eve is cooking on that. Legislation's being cooked by Abby over here. You'll start to see some of it popping up soon. Most of it isn't like it's low-hanging fruit, but like things that are necessary. And we're not going to tackle any of the bigger pieces that are going to require debate for probably another couple days. PD will be looped into those conversations so that you can provide your feedback. We are finding a way to we need to put a system in place to allow the public to also provide some level of feedback. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but we are contemplating a representative system. I would highly recommend that PD back one of those representatives. So other than the chief, ask chief, etc., who may be weighing in at a top level, you have somebody that can advocate for you on a day-to-day basis. I mean, unless you're looking to sit in to all our meetings, which, you know, is probably not feasible. And the budget is also hyper fucked. The TLDR is the past administration had funds coming out of let's just call it a unlimited overseas bank account. So therefore, what appeared to be a positive revenue was never positive revenue. That has since been resolved. In addition to that, there's new expenditures, like fishing is paying out currently $2.5 million a week, maybe even estimated at $4 million a week. Sanitation is also way the fuck up there. So all these things are driving down the budget, and unless we find a way to fix it, we may lose all access to public utilities. So there's a lot of stuff churning right now. The last thing I'll leave you with is I told Ruby this yesterday, and there's a paradigm shift happening beyond us. There's 2 counties. That's not just there for shits and giggles. There's going to be 2 sets of legislations. There's inherently going to be differences. Moonshine might be legal in Sandy, may not be legal here. So jurisdictional transfers are going to be a real thing that needs to be resolved. There will be disagreements. That's okay, right? In fact, that's going to be pretty pog, as the kids would say it. But the PD is going to have to find a way to figure out how they're going to handle that stuff. I'm going to give you a key reason why. We're going to have our own budgets. All right? And I'll give you a working example. If you guys get a drug bust in Los Santos, all right, you've been working a case, you find you get $250,000 of drugs off the street. This county gets $250,000 back in its revenue that can then go back to the people that live in the city. You see what I'm saying? So those jurisdictional things are not just like my group versus your group. It's like actual tangible effects on the county itself. And that will cause some tension. You picking up on what I'm putting down?
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be tension all over the place.
Yeah.
As things develop and keep pushing forward. It's unavoidable.
Yeah. Yeah. So finding ways to resolve around that is going to be very important, because one county gets a bust from someone else's, you're pretty much putting money's either going to come in our pocket or theirs. It's gonna be wild. It's gonna, and you know, I don't know the full extent of it because a lot of it is still getting sorted out. But you know, just you know, let's start thinking about that a little bit. All right. Anything else you want to bring up? All right.
No, I don't think so.
Easy. Okay. All right, Beric. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. If anything else comes up, feel free to give us a call.
Yep, likewise. If you need anything, let me know.
All right.
Thank you, Chief.
The door's locked.
Oh.
I don't have a key.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get those for you guys today. There you go.
Okay, Mr. Chavez.